Reverend Father Cyprian Masembe, a distinguished priest of the Archdiocese of Kampala, was ordained on December 10, 1967 by the late Cardinal Emmanuel Nsubuga, the first Archbishop of Kampala. Father Masembe's journey into priesthood is deeply rooted in his upbringing in the White Father's domain at Nkozi Parish, a nurturing ground for his faith and vocation. He began his clerical trainings at the minor seminary of the Mill Hill Fathers in Inyenga. This initial step was instrumental in shaping his spiritual path. From here, he proceeded at the St. Mary's Major Seminary, Gaba, now known as the St. Mbaga's Major Seminary. The seminary underwent changes when the bishops of Uganda decided to unite a nation under a single clerical training system, aiming to foster unity and self-sufficiency in the church's leadership. This initiative saw the establishment of Common Center for Philosophical Studies and a unified major seminary. Father Masembe recalls his time in seminary with gratitude, describing himself as fortunate to be part of the new breed of priests who were among the first to be trained under the unified system. His experience reflects a period of transformation in the Uganda Catholic Church, as it ought to cultivate homegrown clergy to serve its faithful.
And they named it St. Mary's Major Seminary, Gaba now, the new facilities we have in Gaba. And then, because I was ordained just when the new diocese, Archdiocese of Kampala, had been established, 1966. So I was lucky to be among the new brood. And from there, I was given the opportunity to start at Nsambya Parish as my first appointment as assistant priest. And from there I went to, again, Namiryango Parish, again under the influence of the Mill Hill Fathers. After 2 years there, I came back to Nsambya to reorganize the newly created Kampala Archdiocese.
Following the transformative changes of the Second Vatican Council, the late Archbishop called for a synod to address the evolving needs of the Church. The synod aimed to recognize the Church structure, separating socio-economic services from religious affairs to streamline its mission and focus. In this pivotal period, Reverend Father Masembe was entrusted with the crucial task of reorganizing the various services offered by the Church. Under his guidance, a comprehensive review was conducted, resulting in strategic realignment that was subsequently approved by the Archbishop. According to Father Masembe, the education department was identified as the top priority. This focus was influenced by the legacy of the late Bishop Billington, who had previously overseen the education department in Kampala. Under his tenure, the church had played a significant role in managing schools and educational institutions. However, many of these institutions had been taken over by government, making a significant shift in the church's role in education.
What I do remember mostly was the educational department. It was priority number one, because the late Bishop Billington had been in the education department in Kampala before he became a bishop of Kampala Diocese. And of course, the then newly independent government of Uganda chose to drive all the owners and the starters and the people who were doing educational activities from the department. He says, now, this belongs to the government. So they brought a law forbidding us to run our own schools.
Reverend Father Cyprian Masembe reflects on the significant impact that education reforms had on Uganda's education system as authority over schools shifted from the missionary hands to government control. The changes profoundly affected both the Catholic Church and other denominations. Father Masembe recalls how some of the priests who were instrumental in managing the schools found themselves in precarious situations, with some even fleeing to Kenya to avoid the political tensions of the time. Now, this sudden shift left many religious communities disorganized, struggling to adjust to the new landscape where the government assumed responsibility for what were once mission-led institutions. By the 1970s, a renewed focus emerged within the Catholic Church to regain influence over its schools. Now, these institutions were now designated as government-aided schools, represented a blend of public funding and the Church's educational mission. The aim was to ensure the Catholic education system retained its distinct identity and values while operating under government oversight.
And of service from the hands of the missionaries who had started all these institutions, and then the government brought a law. Anybody of the missionaries trying to interfere, or not even missionaries, anybody of the churches trying to continue running the education institutions will be dealt with heavily. So I remember one of the fathers who was here, the late Monsignor Chibirige, had to run across to Kenya. He need to hide. And so many of the education departments of the churches, Church of Uganda, Orthodox and whatnot, Muslims and Catholics, became disorganized for about 3 years, 5 years. So by the time the 70s came, and we had that synod, we made sure that we organize and take back these schools, these institutions. That is when I started running those offices from 1971, 72. I said all these schools which used to belong to us under the Catholic Church, I said let's go back to our schools, because even up to that time they were being called government-aided schools.
Father Masembe's account highlights a turbulent chapter where the intersection of politics, religion, and education created challenges, but also opportunities for growth and adaptation. His reflections provide sight into resilience and determination of the Catholic Church in Uganda to preserve its educational heritage and significant societal changes. Nora Osende for UCTV News.